information sharing among border control agencies. And this initiative aimed to enhance investigative compatibilities and promote effective multi-agency collaboration at key border points. Technological tools such as integrated custom management system, that is ICMS, and biometric systems are being utilized to data irregular movements and strengthen surveillance at borders. These systems enhance efficiency and improve the ability to identify potential trafficking activities. Targeted training programs have been implemented for border and airline personnel. Notably, the IOM, in partnership with the Kenya Airways, has conducted training to equip staff with the skills needed to identify and assist victims of human trafficking. The border management system has been established at selected border point, transforming them into one-stop shop for the clearance of travelers, goods, and services. The BMS operate under a multi-agency framework, bringing together various government agencies to streamline and coordinate border operations. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, the following safeguards have been established to ensure the safety and well-being of Kenyans seeking employment opportunities abroad. The National Police Service monitors recruitment agencies suspected of engaging in fraudulent or exploitative practices in collaboration with the Ministry of Labor, and they also do frequent inspection to ensure all agencies operate in compliance with established legal and ethical standards. The Labor Migration Desk has been set up at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Moi International Airport to support migrant workers by providing guidance and assistance with the pre-departure procedures. And in accordance with the Interpol and Kenya Foreign Mission, the National Police Service plays a critical role in locating and repatriating Kenyans victims of trafficking. Upon their return, victims are supported through reintegrated effort, often in partnership with Ngao and safe shelters. NPS is responsible for instigating an arraignment in court of individuals or entities involved in illegal recruitment practices. And these include cases involving false job promises, confiscation of travel documents, and coercion linking to human trafficking. In collaboration with the key partners, the NPS conduct awareness campaign to educate the public and the warning signs of fraudulent recruitment processes and suspicious agency, helping prevent exploitation and trafficking. And of course, Honorable Speaker, the hotline from the DCI, the toll-free number has always been provided so that the victim can report such suspected victims. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Jerry. Honorable Jerry Minor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My apologies, Honorable Speaker. When you called me, I was on the other side of the aisle. Honorable Tiende mentioned that there is someone who needs to be disciplined by the Powers and Privilege Committee, which is apparently my new committee since yesterday. And I was soliciting for future suspects and attendees of that committee, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I appreciate the very detailed response by the committee chaired by Honorable Tongoyo, and perhaps, Honorable Speaker, what is missing from his response is whether the government is going to conduct a fresh vetting of all travel agencies, because majority of Kenyans are being exploited by travel agencies as they seek employment opportunities abroad. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Tongoyo, that's as a compliment to your...
Yeah, it is, Honorable Speaker, although in the questions it was not included, but I think it's also not a bad thing to consider.
Can you now respond to Umulher Harun?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In regards to the response to
the
statement...
Is Umulher in the House? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the statement being sought by the nominated member, Honorable Harun, regarding the disappearance of one Mr. Abdirizak Mohamed Yale. And in particular, she wanted to know the status of investigation of the disappearance of the said person, measures that the ministry is taking to ensure that the missing person is found and reunited. and generally the measure be taken to apprehend and arraign before the court the perpetrators. Honorable Speaker, I state as follows. On the 30th September 2023, Mr. Aden Ali reported the disappearance of his cousin, Mr. Abdikazak Muhammad Yale, who indicated that he resided in South Sea area in Nairobi County together with 2 cousins. On the 29th September same year, he left for work in the morning, leaving behind his cousins who were still asleep. Upon returning home later that day, he found that they were not present. He initially assumed that they had gone to a local Islamic religious school located on the Sugura Road, South Sea, where both taught Islamic religion classes. When the 2 failed to return home that evening, he became concerned and proceeded to make a missing person report at Nairobi West Police Station via OB number 143009 of 2023. The incident was referred to Akila Police Station, and a missing person description and details were circulated in all border points, police stations, and division within the country via a signal Rev Z0, .org 5/2/14 volume 1.1068. Additionally, a request to obtain the call data record of the missing person mobile number was made to the service provider Safaricom to assist in identifying the last contact person that the victim communicated with. From the results, it was established that the victim's phone number was switched off within South Sea area, and the victim had neither called anyone nor received any call on that material day. After the 26 days of her disappearance, the Muhammad Yale returned and stated that on the 29th September, while walking with his brother in Nairobi West area, unknown individuals abducted them by covering their heads with sacks and bundling them into a Probox Matatu motor vehicle, which drove for a short distance before stopping. Then they were then transferred into another vehicle, which took them to another unidentified location where they were reportedly tortured. Ahmed claimed he was later given 1,000 and released at a known location within Nairobi with a stern warning not to disclose the incident, what had happened to him, and to leave Nairobi within 3 days. He took a motorcycle to Isli and eventually found his way back to South Sea. Upon further interrogation, he stated that he did not know the whereabouts of his brother, Abdikadir Muhammad Yale. In compliance with the abductor's instruction, Ahmed left for Garissa 3 days after his return and has remained there to date. He indicated that due to the trauma he experienced, he is unwilling to return to Nairobi. Since the circulation of the missing person signal, no information has ever been received to assist the police in tracing the whereabouts of Adhan Nur Hassan. The case is pending under investigation. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, the case is pending under investigation, and the police will update the family of any new development in regards to the whereabouts of Mr. Adhan Nur Hassan. And the last one, so far, no leads to the whereabouts of the missing person, and the suspect has been established. The case remains pending under investigation. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Harun. Hey, boss.
Thank you, Speaker. I also want to thank the chair of the committee. And on behalf of the committee, I appreciate that detailed report. But I'm a bit concerned because I have sat down with the families of Abdirizak Yale. I was actually with the father yesterday, and Ahmed, who was abducted alongside his brother in 2023. And as the report indicated, it's accurate. Ahmed detailed his story back to me, and he was released after 23 days. He was given 1,000 shillings by the police. So if it's already obvious that the police abducted Ahmed and they released him, Ahmed was with the brother, Abdirizak, as well. And Abdirizak is still missing till date. So the report from the committee says that the police are not aware of where Abdirazak is, and I find that a bit unsatisfactory. I wish for the committee to relook into it so that they're able to give a bit of reprieve to this particular family. Mr. Speaker, I was with that family yesterday, and the father is very distressed, and we really appreciate if the security personnel can give us quick feedback on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Tongoyo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And as well as I did state in the last paragraph of the statement, it's true that the investigation is still ongoing, and understand the pain, frustration of the member and, of course, the family. And I want to promise, Honorable Speaker, that the police are going to do anything possible to locate the missing person and continuously giving update reports to the family and the concerned member.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the Speaker's Gallery, Siana Girls High School from Narok West, Narok, Mariani Primary from Igambangombe, Tarakanithi, and Nyekini Primary School from Kitui, Central Kitui. On my behalf, on behalf of the House, I welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Approval of the mediated version of the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023.
Yes, Kwenya. Are you the one moving this? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that pursuant to provisions of Article 113(2) of the Constitution and Standing Order number 153, this House adopts the report of the Mediated Committee on Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023, laid to the table of the House on Tuesday, 1st July 2025, and approves the mediated version of the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023. By the way of introduction, Mr. Speaker, the Gambling Control Bill 2023 seeks to establish a comprehensive legal framework for the regulation of gambling in Kenya, with specific emphasis on incorporating safe gambling principles within the sector. Additionally, the bill seeks to establish the Gambling Regulatory Authority of Kenya, which shall bear the responsibility of licensing and regulating the gambling sector. Honorable Speaker, the National Assembly passed the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023 on 6 December 2023, and forwarded the same to the Senate for concurrence pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders number 144 and Article 110 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the Senate considered the bill and passed it with amendments on 8th October 2024 and referred it back to the National Assembly for consideration in accordance with Article 112 of the Constitution. The Senate proposed amendments to Clause 5, 7, 10, 11, 28, 31, 64, 66, 69, 71, 79, clauses 87, 119, 123, and the third schedule. Further, the Senate proposed new clauses 57A, clause 63A, 66A, 82A, and 117A. Honorable Speaker, the National Assembly considered the Senate amendments to the bill and rejected all the amendments due to contravention with the Constitution principles of origination of bills, as well as need for further amendments to the proposed Senate amendments. The Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 148B, the National Assembly Standing Orders, the Speaker of the National Assembly conveyed a message to the Speaker of the Senate on the resolution by the National Assembly to reject the bill as amended by the Senate. The Speaker then referred the bill to a mediation committee under Article 113 of the Constitution, and in so doing, appointed 9 members of the National Assembly to the mediation committee to consider the bill. Mr. Speaker, on 19th March 2025, pursuant to Standing Order number 166 of the Senate Standing Orders, the Speaker of the Senate conveyed a message to the National Assembly on the appointment of 9 senators to sit in the mediation committee. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Article 113 of the Constitution, the mediation committee was required to attempt to develop a version of the bill that both houses would pass. The mediation committee was confined to considering only the clauses under contention, which were the clauses proposed to be amended by the Senate. Honorable Speaker, permit me to give a highlight of the deliberations on the mediation committee, with particular attention to the clauses considered by the committee. The committee reviewed the Senate's proposal to expand county government function in gambling, including developing legislation and issuing licenses. It is noted that the bill already addresses the shared regulation by assigning licensing to the National Authority and trade permits to county governments. As a result, the committee retained Clause 5 as originally drafted and recommended amending Clause 2 to clarify or to clearly define a license and trade permit. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the Senate amendment to Clause 7, which sought to amend the composition of the board of the Gambling Regulatory Authority. The committee resolved to retain the Attorney General's membership in the board, as well as to increase the number of representatives of the Council of the Governors from 1 to 2 persons. The committee noted that these amendments would ensure meaningful representation both by persons who are not public officers and county government representation, while maintaining manageable board size that conforms to the recommendations of Mwongozo Code of State Corporations. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the Senate Amendment Clause 10, which sought to remove licensing from authority involve counties in machine legislation, require disclosure of gambling company beneficial owners, as well as establish tax compliance system. The committee resolved to retain licensing as a mandate of the authority, provide for the establishment of registers in both the national and county governments, and provide for due diligence checks on beneficial owners of companies so as to ensure transparency and accountability. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the Senate amendment to Clause 11, which sought to introduce new subsections providing for the power of Cabinet Secretary to grant or revoke remote platform authorization. The committee resolved that there was need to provide a definition of remote platform authorization in the definition section, as well as to provide that the Cabinet Secretary shall have the power to prescribe guidelines on remote platform authorization. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Committee considered the Senate Amendment Clause to Clause 28, which sought to remove the power of the authority to issue licenses to key gambling employees and media promotions. The committee resolved that it was necessary to retain these provisions in the bill so as to conform with the international best practices, which provides for the licensing of key gambling employees. The committee considered the Senate amendment to Clause 31, which sought to extend the validity period of gambling licenses from 12 months to 36 months. The committee resolved to increase the validity period of an operating license to ensure ease of doing business and to align the bill with National Lottery Act number 20 of 2023, which provides for 7-year license for annual lottery operator. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the proposed new clause 57A, 63A, and 66A and 82A, which sought to introduce lottery tax, betting tax, gaming tax, and prize competition tax, respectively. The committee noted that in terms of Article 109, sub-Article 5 of the Constitution, a money bill may be introduced only in the National Assembly. The committee further noted that in as much as the bill proposes to repeal the existing betting, Lottery and Gaming Act, Clause 121(6) of the bill provides that the provisions of betting tax, lottery tax, gaming tax, and prize competition tax shall continue to be in force. The committee therefore resolved that the new clauses as proposed by the Senate should not be part of the bill. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the Senate amendment to Clause 64, which sought to reduce the minimum amount of a single bet in a casino machine from 20 shillings to 1 shilling. The committee noted that the amount of 1 shilling as a minimum bet amount was not practical, noting that this would be seen as an encouragement to gambling, and further noting that the intention of bill was to regulate gambling and so as a social vice. The committee therefore resolved to retain the minimum betting amount of 20 shillings as contained in the bill. The committee further considered the Senate amendment to Clause 66, which sought to provide that in addition to the authority, the county government shall also ensure that their officers are present in casinos for purposes of ensuring compliance. The mediation resolved to retain Clause 66 as contained in the bill to ensure that the responsibility for financial reporting and anti-money laundering compliances rests with the national government as provided in law. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the Senate amendment to Clause 69, which sought to provide that an online gambling transaction shall commence at the time of deposit of money into the gaming account and shall conclude at the time withdrawal of money from a gaming account. The committee resolved to carry amendment as proposed by the Senate, noting that the amendment was in alignment with the provisions of Excise Duty Act, Cap 472. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered Clause 71, which sought to reduce the penalty for the offense of permitting online gambling for an amount of less than 20 million from above 5 million shillings to 50,000 shillings, to above 50,000 shillings. The committee noted that while a fine of not less than 5 million may be too punitive, a lower limit of 50,000 may be too lenient, given the substantial profits realized in the online gambling sector. The committee therefore resolved to amend the bill to provide for a penalty of 3 million shillings. The committee considered further the amendment of Clause 79, which sought to remove the requirement that the foreign gambling operator be licensed in Kenya. They must intend to carry on the online gambling businesses in Kenya, as well as exempt foreign gambling operators from the requirements for licensing at gambling security as contained in the bill. The committee noted that allowing foreign gambling operators to apply for licenses would lead to increased revenue for the authority in the form of license fees paid by the foreign gambling operators, but such gambling operators would be required to comply with the provisions of the Act Cap 486 in relation to the registration of foreign companies. The committee therefore resolved to retain the requirement of gambling security in respect of foreign gambling companies or operators. Honorable Speaker, the committee further considered amendment to Clause 87, which sought to remove the restriction of gambling advertisement between 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. unless it is done in a live sporting event. The amendment further sought to reduce the penalty for the offense of contravening the provisions of the advertisement of gambling from 20 million to 1 million shillings and imprisonment from 20 years to 1 year. The committee noted that the objective of the restriction on the hours of gambling advertisement is to discourage gambling, which is a social vice. Removing restriction from the bill would lead to the unregulated advertisement airtime on television, which would subsequently increase the social vice. the committee further noted that the penalty proposed by the Senate for contravention of the gambling advertisement is too low. The committee therefore resolved to retain the provision as contained in the bill. Mr. Speaker, the committee reviewed the Senate's proposed clause 117A to restrict gambling premises operating hours to between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. The committee found the proposal would not be practical, as online gambling would remain accessible 24 hours, 7 days a week, creating an unfair regulatory environment. Consequently, the committee resolved not to include the clause in the bill. Mr. Speaker, the committee further considered amendment to clause 119 by the Senate, which sought to remove the conduct of the National Lottery and National Lottery rules from among the matters which the Cabinet Secretary shall have power to make regulations. The committee noted that the bill seeks to make the gambling regulatory authority the main regulator of all gambling activities by empowering it to set standards and norms. Therefore, the amendment proposed by the Senate was not necessary. The committee therefore resolved to retain the clause as contained in the bill. Mr. Speaker, the committee considered also clause 123 of the amendment that was proposed by the Senate, which sought to amend the Income Tax Act, the Excise Duty Act, to provide for tax exemptions on gambling activities. The committee noted that Article 109, Sub-Article 5 of the Constitution, provides that a money bill may be introduced only in the National Assembly. Therefore, the amendment proposed by the Senate were in contravention of the constitutional provision. The committee therefore resolved to retain the clause as contained in the bill. The committee considered the Senate amendment to the third schedule, which sought to reduce the security required in respect to online gambling and national lottery from 200 million shillings to 20 million shillings. The committee noted that while the National Assembly provision requiring 200 million shillings and gambling security may be considered too high, the Senate proposed reduction to 20 million shillings would be inadequate given the scale and potential impact of these operations. The committee therefore resolved to amend the bill to provide for the amount of 100 million shillings as gambling security in respect of online gambling and national lottery. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, permit me to thank the members of the Mediation Committee for their efforts in developing a version of gambling control bill that not only gives effect to the constitutional principles of devolution, but will also lead to the establishment of a comprehensive legal framework to regulate the gambling sector in Kenya. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I urge this House to adopt the report of the mediated committee and approve the mediated version of the gambling control bill as contained in the order paper. I take note that this bill presents a comprehensive and a modernized approach to the regulation of gambling in Kenya. It aims to balance the economic benefits of the industry, which injects the much needed revenue into the country, into the economy, which at the same time, protecting consumers and preventing social harm in our society. The mediated version of the bill is attached to the order paper. I beg to take, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and take this opportunity to request the Honorable Leader of Majority, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, to second. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. Before the Leader of Majority seconds, allow me to interrupt the business of the House to welcome students that we have in the public gallery this afternoon. St. Paul's Gatinda Primary School from Runyenjes constituency, Embu County. Kiambuthia Secondary School, Mathioya constituency, Murang'a. Ruyobe Primary School from Rongai constituency, Nakuru County. Chungor Comprehensive Constituency, Elgeyo Marakwet. And in the Speaker's Gallery still, we have Kapsabet Girls High School, Mgwen, Nandi County. And on behalf of all of us, I will give 1 minute to the member, Honorable Didmas Wekesa, whose daughter is a scholar in Kapsabet Girls. A minute to welcome all of them on all of our behalf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to welcome our students in the National Assembly of Kenya, and most particularly, Honorable Madam Speaker, Kapsabet Girls, where my firstborn daughter is sitting Form 4 this year. And I am not only elated to welcome all the students, but most particularly very happy that my firstborn daughter can now understand where I come every day, why at times I'm absent from home is because of the call of duty of enacting various laws in our country. And I also take this time, Madam Speaker, to appreciate the teachers of our country who are not only preparing our students to pass the exams, but they are modeling them to be model Kenyans, to be good citizens, so that they can take this country to the next frontier. I take this opportunity on behalf of all the members of Parliament to welcome all of them. Feel free in the National Assembly. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I was going to say we sit for 3 days in a week, but I welcome all the scholars that are here to observe the proceedings of the House. Leader of Majority, second your motion. Honorable Naisula and Honorable Kororia. That Kamukunji is illegal. Let us hear the Leader of Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second this motion for approval of the mediated version of the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023. Honorable Speaker, I will not delve into all the specific clauses since the move of the bill. The Honorable Kwenya has already done that. And on behalf of the Sports Committee and members of the Mediation Committee, Honorable Speaker, allow me first to thank all the members of this House who have sat in that Mediation Committee and those from the other House in the Senate, because it was a painstaking process to be able to agree on many contentious issues, Honorable Speaker, to make sure that we have a Gambling Control Act if this bill is passed today and becomes an act of Parliament, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill, when it came to this House, we sent it to the Senate because there were certain provisions attached on county governments, Honorable Speaker, because the gambling or betting control, Honorable Speaker, is a shared function between the national government and our county governments. And therefore, in line with the fourth schedule of our Constitution, we had to send this bill to the Senate. They amended quite a number of clauses, some that touched on money bill effect, or some clauses that made the bill to have the money bill, some clauses that had a money bill effect. And when they came, we rejected them, and those are some of the issues that occasioned the mediation process. I'm glad that the mediation committee between the two houses was able to agree and removed all the clauses that touched on taxation and anything that had the money bill effect, which in line with our Constitution and our own standing orders and those of the Senate, anything that has a money bill effect, in line with Article 114 of our Constitution, can only be done by the National Assembly and not the Senate. And I must thank the mediation committee, because when they were able to sit together, they were able to agree and remove all the clauses that touched on money bill and those that touched on taxation. And I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that many of those issues, again, were addressed during the finance bill debate, and we were able to enact many of the provisions that would otherwise have been carried in this bill that had tax measures in the finance bill, which is now the Finance Act of 2025, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there are also amendments, especially to clause 79, was it 76 or 79 and 74, Honorable Speaker? I will get it shortly, that touched on certain statutory provisions. Honorable Speaker, provisions under clause 79, 82A, and clause 40 and 29 that were being amended by this bill And Honorable Speaker, some of the provisions touch on statutory provisions that the Senate again had sought to exclude certain companies, especially those that are engaged in online gambling, from statutory provisions. Statutory provisions, Honorable Speaker, some that require that any person who is engaged in gambling business must be domiciled in Kenya, must have a bank account in Kenya under the purview of the Central Bank of Kenya, must deposit security bonds or bank guarantees or an insurance bond to be able to safeguard the interests of the people who are gambling, Honorable Speaker. And some of the measures that Senate had taken was to remove some of those statutory provisions, Honorable Speaker. And I'm happy that during mediation they were able to agree and only allowed the exemption of Clause 29A on the question of licensing for online, those who are engaging in the business of online gambling, to allow them not to necessarily have local shareholding, because the exemption was to allow, or rather the law required that any person who is licensed to offer gambling or betting activity under the Act, that person must be a body corporate in which a minimum of 30% of shares under this Act are either, it must be a body corporate in which a minimum of 30% of the shares are held by Kenyan citizens, Honorable Speaker. And I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that that particular provision, the mediation committee was able to agree that if you engage in online business, you do not necessarily need to have shareholding, local shareholding, as was required under the Act. And that is the only exemption that the mediation committee has agreed on. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, the other measures that the Senate had put in exempting people who are doing online gambling from the statutory provisions of having security bonds, bank guarantees, insurance security bonds, those have now been restated. Because, Honorable Speaker, those things are not just there for the sake of having them there. They are there to protect the public. Because it's very easy, Honorable Speaker, for someone doing business online to collect money from Kenyans under the pretext of gambling or betting, then end up paying nothing and walk away with their money. And therefore, it is important that anybody who is licensed is required to deposit a security guarantee, a bank guarantee or an insurance bond that will ensure if you incur any liabilities, the people of Kenya, the betting public, are protected against such liabilities, Honorable Speaker. And I must thank the committee that they were able to agree on some of those otherwise very offensive provisions. And Honorable Speaker, at the time they were in mediation, members will remember the issue that was raised in the country of online gambling and the danger that gambling and betting is taking especially our young people through. And those like Honorable Kahangara and Honorable Tongoyo, who sit in the Security Committee, will tell you that whatever measures BCLB or the Betting and Licensing Control Board is doing are not adequate. And therefore, unless and until we have an operational act of Parliament that will ensure that we also discourage our youth from engaging in irresponsible betting and gambling, Honorable Speaker, we risk making our young people believe that you can be rich by engaging in gambling and betting without engaging in any productive economic activity, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, those of us who confess the Islam faith will bear me witness that even in their faith, they don't believe in gambling because they believe in hard work. And even in the Christian faith, those of us who are Christians, we believe in people working and earning a living out of productive economic activities, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we must have laws like this that discourage irresponsible gambling. It is okay to gamble and bet as a pastime, but it cannot be, Honorable Speaker, that every day of your life, all you do is to gamble and bet. It cannot be usual, Honorable Speaker, that many radio stations and TV stations, Honorable Speaker, were free to encourage the public to bet from as early as 5 a.m. There are radio stations that were running programs encouraging Kenyans to bet and gamble. We have seen young children, college students, commit suicide because of betting. They have gambled their money away, their school fees. Some gamble their subsistence allowance from their parents and from the Higher Education Loans Board, and they end up destitute, slip into depression, and end up, Honorable Speaker, some committing suicide. It is these young ones that we must protect. And this particular law will play a critical role in protecting the young people in our country against those who are encouraging them to engage in irresponsible betting and gambling. It will play a critical role in ensuring that our media houses do not irresponsibly encourage people to get into irresponsible gambling by making them believe that you'll become billionaires and millionaires overnight by simply punching numbers on your phone. Because you've seen many of them telling them, you just need to punch numbers and become bonyeza, kanya, finya, and you become a billionaire from gambling. Honorable Speaker, we want to encourage our young people to work. We want to encourage them to become innovative and use their intellect to engage in economic activities that will earn them a living, Honorable Speaker. And the many programs that are being rolled out, from the affordable housing program, Honorable Speaker, to the digital economy jobs, Honorable Speaker, to the Kazi Maju programs, Honorable Speaker, are opportunities where young people can engage in productive economic activities rather than encourage them to get into irresponsible gambling, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I want to agree with the mover and the proposers of this bill, those who mediated this bill, Honorable Speaker, that this bill, when it becomes an act of Parliament, it will provide us with a very good legal framework on the regulation and control of gambling activities in the country. And it will expressly provide for gambling activities that shall be legal in Kenya while prohibiting illegal forms of gambling, Honorable Speaker. Because as I said, there are all manner of gambling, Honorable Speaker. Those that are doing on radio, those that are doing on TV, those that are doing online, some that are domiciled in this country, others that are domiciled outside the country. This bill will be able to tell us what is legally authorized in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. You remember the time there was that debate 2 months or 3 months ago. BCLB told us that they had banned, I think, 330 companies that were engaged in illegal gambling activities, Honorable Speaker. Because it's also not clear, even to authorities in our county governments and law enforcers, which gambling activity is licensed. This bill now makes it clear what gambling activities will be licensed in Kenya. It will also promote and develop a responsible gambling industry in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. Because, as I said, this industry is an industry like any other. Like the beer industry, like the cigarette industry. And as harmful as it can be, if done responsibly, it is an industry that can also generate resources for our country and create jobs. And we have many gambling companies that are engaged in responsible gambling that have created jobs for Kenyans in this country, and especially young Kenyans who are very innovative in the tech sector. Many of them are employed as app developers in these online gambling companies, and they're also providing money to the exchequer, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we want to ensure that we develop that responsible gambling industry in the country, as we minimize on the social harm that irresponsible gambling can afflict in our society, Honorable Speaker. This bill will also ensure that there is integrity in the conduct of licensed gambling activities and provide for the establishment of mechanisms for the resolution of disputes relating to gambling, because there are many disputes, as I said. Part of the reason why this House was opposed to lifting or to the establishment of exemptions to certain statutory provisions is because some are inbuilt in our laws to ensure that if there are disputes, for instance, between a gambling company and those who are gambling, there is a security guarantee or a bank guarantee or an insurance bond that safeguards the money of those who are engaged in this business. Just like those who engage in the insurance business, Honorable Speaker, have to have a deposit, a security bond guarantee or a bank guarantee to ensure that those who underwrite insurance covers for them are compensated should that company come down. Those who are in the banking industry, the same. Therefore, because this is also a very fluid industry, in terms of liquidity, we must ensure that if you take money from members of the public, you have also deposited a bank guarantee or insurance bond that will secure the interests of the public, Honorable Speaker. Because had we not done that, Honorable Speaker, and fallen to the temptation of what had been done in the Senate, then would be leaders who are encouraging a very irresponsible culture in our country, one where you can come collect money from Kenyans, and after 2 days you close down, raise money online from Kenyans through pretentious gambling and betting activities, and close shop and take off with people's money. It will now not be possible to do that with this law in the mediated format that is in. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to plead with members to support this mediated version. Is a product of a give and take between us and the Senate, and we have made sure that we have a law that now protects the public and encourages responsible gambling and betting in our country, while also protecting the resources that we're able to raise nationally in terms of revenue from taxation of the companies that are engaged in gambling, even as we discourage the illegal gambling and irresponsible betting and gambling that we have seen in the past. And therefore beg to second and urge members to support this bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. I therefore propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Article 113(2) of the Constitution and Standing Order 153, this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 1st July 2025, and approves the mediated version of the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly number 70 of 2023. Honorable members, before I give any... What is out of order, Majority Leader?
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Irene Kasalu, yesterday when you were on your feet, she was walking out of the chamber. Again today, Honorable Speaker, when you were on your feet, the Honorable Irene Kasalu again was walking out of the chamber.
I think we will need some refresher course for
At least today she was able to freeze when we raised it, Honorable Speaker. But just to advise Honorable Irene Kasalu that when the Speaker is on her feet, please remain in your position or freeze at the point where you are.
Honorable Kasalu, you also don't have to freeze when the Majority Leader is on his feet.
It is also okay to freeze when the Majority Leader is on his feet.
Honorable members, before I indulge members, allow me to recognize we will keep doing this because of the number of children that we are receiving in this plenary. In the public gallery, we have Sitotuo Primary School and JSS from Keio South constituency, Elgeyo Marakwet. We have Kamakabi Primary School from Tharaka constituency, Tharaka Nithi County. We have the Christ the King Academy from Kajiado Central, Kajiado County. On all of your behalves and of the House, we welcome them to observe the proceedings of the House. Before I indulge members, Honorable Leader of Majority has reacted to a few discussions that have been there. You remember yours truly had requested a statement on this betting problem, and we still haven't gotten the full report, but I hope this bill will be able to address most of those issues, because BCLB reacted by withdrawing the adverts and they have crept back because it was a reaction, then now it has gone quiet. So I will indulge members. I know there are some who want to put the question. Who want me to put the question? I will give Honorable Oundo and close the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Allow me also to thank and congratulate the Mediation Committee for successfully shepherding the process Honorable Speaker, as required under the Constitution of Kenya, Article 113, that whenever a bill originates from head of the House, and the head of the House makes amendment, the next House makes amendment, then if the amendments are not acceptable to head of the House, we have to go to a mediation process. Honorable Speaker, because this entirely what was respected in the Constitution, and I must commend the spirit that prevailed during this mediation process, because many times this mediation process have always ended up with a stalemate due to some supremacy, a rivalry that are petty and unnecessary. Honorable Speaker, as I stand to second this gambling control bill, I do so with a very heavy heart. Heavy heart in the sense, as a Christian and as a human being, I find gambling a distasteful activity. I find a gambling a very, very bad activity. But Honorable Speaker, we find ourselves in a hard rock, between a hard rock and whatever place it is, that we must find a way of bringing the sins that are likely to happen, that are happening, in some kind of ambit of control, so that we can monitor the sinners, we can monitor the sponsors of the sinners, and we can monitor the outcome of the sins. Honorable Speaker, the Bible never contemplated gambling. The African tradition, they never contemplated gambling. Our Muslim brothers do not even allow it at all. But we face a reality that our young men, our young women, and some even lazy, deranged old men of my age still participate in gambling. Honorable Speaker, there was in African tradition some form of betting. And our betting, Honorable Speaker, you might not understand because you are fairly young, involved a very complicated traditional way of doing it. We would put our two separate fingers and then we hit in between here and we bet who will win a fight, who will win the right to dance with the most beautiful girl in a party. That never involved any monetary. It was not addictive. It was just a way of entertainment. Over time, Honorable Speaker, as the majority leader has said, there are a category of people in this country that have made gambling and betting a career, have made gambling and betting as a job, have made betting and gambling some kind of a way, so to speak, Honorable Speaker, actually to launder illicitly acquired money. So I just hope and pray that the provisions of this bill, once it's assented by the President, becomes an act, and the attendant regulations, Honorable Speaker, will address this particular challenge. Honorable Speaker, it's now becoming, you would go for a football match, be it the mighty Arsenal playing a small team called Manchester United, that you find 90% of the people who are watching or who are living in a hall in a club purporting to watch the match are not soccer fans, but they're investors waiting to know which team will win so that they have a huge bet. Honorable Speaker, we must find a way to discourage this behavior. And I just hope and pray the county governments will be very dexterous, will be very careful when they license any form of machines or halls, Honorable Speaker, that allows betting and gambling. Honorable Speaker, you go to many small urban centers in this country, 90% of the commercial spaces, so small halls, have got those gambling machines. School children leave school to go and gamble. There is a notorious place, Honorable Speaker, in my constituency called Namboboto Center, where boys and girls from nearby schools leave home at 5 a.m. in the morning, purporting to go to school, and known to the parents, they put on civilian clothes inside their school uniform. So once they approach the school compound, they remove those clothes, put them into their bags, and enter into those gambling dens. And how do they make the money, Honorable Speaker? They steal their parents' chicken, they steal the small items at home to go and gamble. Many of them, Honorable Speaker, even when they are given money for tuition, that's the kind of money, Honorable Speaker, they used to gamble. Honorable Speaker, as I stand here, I have a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine. He's second-year boy, a certain university, I don't want to name it, to preserve his privacy, was given money by the father to do some work. The father does some work, clearing and forwarding. Honorable Speaker, the boy spent all the 150,000 on a theater, and it just disappeared that way. The boy had to disappear. Up to now, nobody knows where he is. He is purporting to borrow some money from friends. He can invest more in gambling, hoping that he will win, so that he can get some money. Honorable Speaker, it is immoral, to be honest, for you to entice people. Another form of gambling is these cards, poker cards. And in many places they are played in the bush or in some kind of hideouts where money keeps on changing and money is getting lost. We must rein in on this illegal gambling. It is addictive, it's a social vice that is mostly destroying our boys and girls. Honorable Speaker, the boys and girls needs to have time. The young men who have finished school, who have finished university, need to focus on looking for jobs, need to focus on entrepreneurship, not focus on gambling to an extent that are unable to undertake other services or other activities that they're supposed to undertake as provided for in the Bible when God told Eve and Adam to go and fill this world. Honorable Speaker, we just hope and we pray that the regulatory authority, which is going to call Gambling Regulatory Authority of Kenya, is not going to be another authority steeped in corruption and ethical practices to continuously allow this divisive or bad, devious habit to fester and become entrenched in this country. With these few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I reluctantly support so that we can bring the devil under the watch of the Almighty God. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Elachi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also rise to support just so that we get a law in the country to work. But honestly speaking, in my consciousness, I find it very sad that you can put 20 shillings. All you have said is any child in the Kijiji, in Kawangware, can find him or herself in a gambling place, taken money for the mother that was for bread or anything and gamble. Madam Speaker, the most sad part and the most risky part of gambling addiction, especially in children below 20, is that the development, particularly of your prefrontal cortex, of your brain, that is used to give you the mind of decision making, deteriorates completely. And that child, after that, Madam Speaker, will find themselves in challenges many years. And Madam Speaker, in Kenya, I think we are the ones with a very, very high rate of allowing our children to gamble. And to make it worse, it is children of Christians. Because the Muslims, I want to salute them wherever they are today. Thank you for protecting your children. For us Christians, we have gone mad, starting from the top, Madam Speaker. Because, and I'm hoping the President will sign but return this with some few written memorandum that we need to change a few things here, Madam Speaker. So that first of all, a player in an online gambling activity, it shall not be bet on amount of less than. Now what is 20 shillings, Madam Speaker? It should be 50, so that we remove the young people from there, because getting 50 will be a bit hard. And Madam Speaker, it's like these people are so powerful. powerful that they can convince government until a bill can be sized into what they want. It is wrong. These are the things we were saying. It is wrong in what we are doing to our young people. Madam Speaker, the other thing is depression. When a young person loses, first of all, he gets into anxiety. He tries and gets into a secrecy thinking, oh, next time I can win and I can win. And he continues losing. The next thing, he's in depression. The next thing, he's in a suicidal ideation, which is the most sad thing. And many have died because of that. And now we are here again. We have said we have mediated. This is a bill, Madam Speaker, that should come back with the statement you asked, that we can amend a few things here without joking, especially as mothers, without joking with our children. Madam Speaker, then the other thing is it's a financial literacy, that management. This child learning management of finances for the future is so low. In fact, I doubt whether it will even be there. Because you are used to patapotea. You are used to just ensuring I can pick from here, and then the devil lies to you that you have gotten from 20, you have 200. Now you get excited. You move on. Until by the age of 40, you are still thinking that is the way of life. It is not the way of life. It is a lie in life. But this is what we have made our country to be. And so God forbid and God help Christians. Because many things that our children are going through and suffering are Christian children. And so for me, Madam Speaker, today, while I can see now we've created the authority, we've brought in an authority, Madam Speaker. Then we have brought in the tribunal. Haven't we created more spaces of corruption? Now even the ones who we want to close from this gambling, we have given them space to gamble well. Because they will just be running to the tribunal, running where you just give money and you continue. This is what I want to tell my president today. You're a president who believes in the Bible. And you know what is good and what is bad for a country, and especially for the young, a generation that we have to raise. I want to plead with you, my president. This bill we are passing for gambling will not affect our Muslim brothers and sisters. Their Quran is clear. This is wrong to do, and therefore they follow. It is coming to affect us and our children. I plead, we need to put an age limit on gambling in Kenya. Just the same way we've put an age limit in alcohol. That age limit, 21, should go to gambling also. And also ensure the price, the gambling fee is not 20 bob, but at least 25, 50 shillings, 30. Better. That way, even people will see we are very serious in ensuring young children are unable to gamble, Madam Speaker. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support.
Very well. Honorable James Nikau, member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, gambling is a bad thing. But we put laws to regulate bad things. So on that basis, I'll actually support it. That is why we need the law to control gambling. But I support it for one main reason, that the committee has attempted to look at areas where we have problems, like the effect on tax, the effect on money bill, the statutory provisions of who own it, and that they must be locally based, that the shares must be local, and very importantly, Madam Speaker, that in online gambling, we have put that there has to be security guarantees. I think that is important. Madam Speaker, but the biggest problem we really have with this, as we'll support it, is the effect it has on young people. Gambling is addictive exactly like any other drug. The impact on the mind is exactly the same as other drugs. And worse still, when it has had an impact of you, it drives people directly to use of drugs. Therefore, we really have to look at that. And Madam Speaker, the other one is the issue of media houses. Media houses are very powerful tools on shaping the perception in public, on public education, and changing the conduct and the beliefs of the public. And their job is public education. If now they also are allowed to get into gambling, that's a problem. At least the committee has looked at that. Now, Speaker, I'll support, but I think we need to amend this in 6 months in just 2 areas. We must put an age limit to gambling and put the sanction on the operators who allow young people to gamble. And 2, put a limit onto how much you can actually put in gambling so that we actually try to cut it away from young people. With that, Madam Speaker, I support.
Honorable Naisula, not in the House. I will therefore, because there is no more interest on this, I don't have you on my record. Where are your cards? I don't have any other person apart from Naisula on my screen. What is happening? Honorable Zamzam.
Thank you. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kuzungumzia kwa mswada huu ambao umeletwa kuweza kuregulate kamari. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niweze kumsupport ndugu yangu Kimani Ichung'wah kwa yale ambayo amezungumza leo katika bunge hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, kamari hata katika vitabu vyetu vya dini zote, nimeona ni katika vitabu vyote vinakataza kucheza kamari, ni haramu. Lakini pia Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona maisha ya watoto wetu, hasa hawa watoto wetu wa shule, maisha yao inaenda ikiharibika. Watoto wamekuwa wezi, mtoto anaingia kwa nyumba, naiba 100, naiba 200 ya mama, anaenda kucheza kamari. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona watoto wanabeti mpaka hizi mambo ya mpira, na niweze kumwelezea Mheshimiwa Undo kuwa Manchester sio timu ndogo. Kwanza inatupa ari sana ndani ya Mombasa, tuna watoto wetu ambao wanacheza mpira. Manchester sio timu ndogo, niweze kumrekebisha. Pengine Arsenal ndio timu ndogo. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, nikirudi kwenye kamari, watoto wetu wanaingia kwenye betting za mpira. Unaona mtoto yuko na visimu ama amekimbia kando kwa jirani. Hata vitabu pia hawawezi kushika kusoma vitabu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na imeharibu jamii. Mpaka sasa vijana wetu badala ya kuingia kujifunza mambo ya skills ili kijana aweze kupata ujuzi wa kuweza kujisaidia na kujiajiri mwenyewe, unapata ameshika sana mambo ya betting. Watoto wanabeti, wamekuwa wajanja, wamekuwa wakora, serikali ama nchi inaharibika kwa sababu ya mambo ya betting, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ndio maana nasema sheria kali iwekwe. Mimi kama Muislamu ningeweza kusema ipingwe kabisa kama vile Qur'ani inavyosema. Lakini kitu ambacho nitasema, Mheshimiwa Spika, betting ni mbaya, imeharibu maisha ya watoto. Watoto wamekuwa wezi, watoto wamekuwa wavivu, vijana wamekuwa wavivu, hawataki hata kujifunza ujuzi waweze kutengeza mapeni, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa mfano kama vijana wanaweza wakashikana, wakiingia wakafanya mambo ya interior design, wakafanya mambo ya mechanics, wakafanya mambo ya ujenzi. Saa hii kuna mambo mengi yanaendelea sana na real estate. Watoto wanaweza kupata ajira, lakini wengi wamejitwika uvivu. Watoto wanaingia mambo ya betting kuweza kupata pesa ya haraka. Na hata hao walioleta betting sijui walifikiria nini, kwa sababu mimi na uhakika watoto wao hawachezi huu mchezo. Wameweza kuwazuia. Ni kama vile tunaona masimu za rununu. Yule ambaye ameweza kutengeza watoto wake wenyewe ameweza kukiri kwenye public kuwa watoto wake hawana simu ya rununu, lakini watoto wa wenzake ndio wanatumia. Unapata kila wakati mtoto ana scroll, hana time ya kushika vitabu, hana muda wa kushika vitabu kuweza kusoma. Watoto wameharibika, dunia sijui inaenda wapi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ingekuwa ni uwezo wangu mimi Mama Zamzam, ningeweza kupinga kabisa hata ifutiliwe mbali katika taifa hili, Mheshimiwa Spika. Watu watafute biashara zingine za kufanya kando na kuingia katika mchezo wa kamari. Nipata potea, mnaibia wa Kenya tukiona hivi. Alafu siku hizi wameweka katika ma radio stations, wameweka katika matelevisheni, mchana peupe wanaweza kuadvertise, watoto wanaangalia, pika box, sijui fanya nini, fanya yote hiyo ni kamari. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ningeomba kwanza itolewe katika matangazo ya matelevisheni na maredio. Mwenye kutaka kufanya betting iwe umri fulani ambao anaweza kuwekewa, japokuwa mimi hata umri wa mume wangu siwezi kubali aende kufanya betting. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo ni kupoteza mali ndani ya nyumba na ni kujitwika uvivu ndani ya nyumba. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu ya wanafunzi wetu, watoto wa shule na wale ambao bado wako kwenye college, mimi naomba hii sheria iweze kupitishwa ili tuweze kuregulate, tuangalie tunaweza kuprotect vipi jamii yetu na watoto wetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hayo machache, asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mover to reply.
Thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity. I wish in a very special way first to thank all the members who have contributed to this special motion on mediated version of the gambling bill. And Madam Speaker, as you realize, many members have quite enriching proposals, and because legislation is a work in progress and is continuous given the emerging trends and issues, they have an opportunity in 6 months maybe to bring an amendment and maybe to follow through the relevant ministry while they'll be doing the regulations. Madam Speaker, I beg to reply and request putting of the question to be deferred pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 53. I thank you, Speaker.
Very well, we shall defer the putting of the question as requested by the mover. Next order.
Order number 11, Committee of the Whole House.
Order, members.
Order, members. Those who wish to participate in this Committee of the Whole House, you may take your seats. Honorable members, you are considering the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025.
Clauses 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I propose the question that clauses 3 to 7 be part of the bill. There be no amendment. I put the question that clauses 3 to 7 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Schedule.
I propose the question that the schedule be the schedule of the bill. We have an amendment on the schedule. Chairperson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the schedule be amended in respect to Kitui County by deleting the word Kisumu appearing in column B and substituting therefore the word Kitui. Madam Chair, the schedule, in the schedule column B, which outlines the counties and constituencies that are supposed to benefit from the Equalization Fund, the word Kisumu is appearing in the column for Kitui County. So we are removing that word so that we aligned the report properly.
Thank you, Chairman. I propose the question that the schedule be amended as proposed by the Chairman. Yeah, Honorable Dr. Nyikal.
I would just want to know from the mover that if Kisumu was there and Kisumu now is not there, what does it mean? Was it a repetition so that Kisumu is still there and Kitui is just being added? So does it mean that the money for Kisumu is gone? And can we have an explanation as to why?
Honorable Dr. Nyikal, it is a typographical error where Kisumu is appearing in the equalization money that is supposed to go to Kitui, but for the purpose of clarity, Chair, please explain to the Honorable Dr. Nyikal.
Let me clarify. Madam Chair, thank you very much for that clarification. What we are correcting is basically a cleanup. We are doing a cleanup. But for the benefit of Nyikal, I would like to inform him that Kisumu County is also a beneficiary of the Equalization Fund. And Kisumu County, the sub-counties that will benefit are Muhoroni and Nyando, not Seme. So Kisumu will still benefit, but now on this particular amendment, we do not want the word Kisumu to appear in respect for Kitui County, because Kitui County is benefiting as independently as Kitui County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Honorable members, I now put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed by the Chair. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that the schedule as amended be the schedule of the bill. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I propose the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. There be no amendment. I put the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose the question that the title be the title of the bill. No amendment, so I put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. No amendment, so I put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I would like to call upon the mover of the bill, Chairman Budget.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move. I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025, and its approval thereof with amendments. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Honourable members, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, mover of the bill? No. No, chairperson to report to the House.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report to that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Equalization Fund Bill. I would like to take that again, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025, and approved the same with amendments.
With one amendment. Still amendment. Mover of the bill?
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee. In the said report, I also request Honorable Dr. James Nyikal to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Nyikal?
I second.
Therefore, honorable members, I propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Do I put the question? I put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. As many as have that opinion say aye. As many as have a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Mover of the bill, move third reading.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025, be now read a third time. I also request the Honorable Dr. James Nyikal to second.
Honorable Nyikao.
I second.
I therefore propose the question, which is that the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025, be now read a third time. Do I put the question? I put the question that the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025, be now read a third time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of a sum of money out of the Equalization Fund and its application towards the service of the year ending 30th June 2026 to appropriate that sum for certain public basic services and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 12, motion, consideration of report on the examination of financial statements of selected state corporations. Resumption of debate.
Honorable members, this was on the floor yesterday, and it is a resumption of debate. Leader of Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I rise to support this motion on consideration of the Public Investments Committee on Commercial Affairs and Energy's report on energy. Honorable Speaker, let me first commend the chair of this committee, the Honorable Kosing, and all the members of that committee for the diligence that they have put in to ensure that they review the audited accounts of our state corporations, more so those in the energy sector and those that are engaged in commercial activities, Honorable Speaker. And I also note, Honorable Speaker, yesterday the communication from the cabinet that indicated that some of these state corporations are lined up for privatization, a matter that I fully support, and especially that of the Kenya Pipeline Company Limited, which is also being lined up for privatization. Because when you privatize, Honorable Speaker, you harness both the public resources that we have and also the expertise of the private sector, especially in the management of institutions that otherwise become inefficient because of the bureaucracies of the public sector. And indeed, I look forward, Honorable Speaker, to a time when this privatization becomes a reality to ensure that the Kenya Pipeline Company, for instance, Honorable Speaker, is able to deliver on its mandate effectively and more efficiently than it does today, and in a manner that ensures safety to many Kenyans when you remember what happened in Sinai some years ago. And I want to believe that with private sector coming into play in that sector, we will have more resources and better expertise in the management of some of these state corporations, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we talk about corruption every day in this country, but hardly do we ever act on corruption. And I must commend the Public Investments Committee because it remains an integral part of the fight against corruption. I remember, Honorable Speaker, some years back when I served as the Vice Chair of the Public Investments Committee, and we looked into the haste that was then the National Youth Fund, where people in one afternoon scattered away 180 million shillings, money that was meant for our youth. And out of the work that we did in the Public Investments Committee, people were charged and convicted. I want to encourage the Honorable Kosing to follow in the footsteps that we set forth when we served in that Public Investments Committee with the Honorable Kainan Mohammed, who was then my chair. The energy sector in this country, Honorable Speaker, is one of the sectors that are bedeviled with huge and rampant corruption, Honorable Speaker. The cost of electricity, Honorable Speaker, and we have spoken about it time and over again in this House, is so high in this country, largely because of yesteryear corruption. Whether it is in the procurement of power purchase agreements that were entered into years ago, some 30, 25 years ago, that were extremely expensive, Honorable Speaker. and we continue to pay for them today. Today, although some of the state corporations in this sector, Honorable Speaker, are quasi-private, and case in point is a Kenya Power and Lighting Company, Honorable Speaker, and Honorable Kosing knows. Because it's listed in our stock exchange, and there are private investors in this company, Honorable Speaker, doesn't mean, Honorable Speaker, that the Public Investments Committee should not oversight, since government also puts money in some of these state corporations. And I speak about KPLC because this is one state corporation where the public continues to suffer because of unchecked corrupt activities at KPLC. I'll tell you, Honorable Speaker, if the Public Investments Committee looks into the procurement processes at KPLC, Honorable Speaker, I am speaking this with authority because I am privy to a lot of information, some of which I have passed on to the Public Investments Committee to check. Right from the procurement of transformers at KPLC to the procurement of meters. Honorable Speaker, there are cases where people purport that they are procuring meters in this country and they advertise tenders for locally produced meters. Honorable Speaker, if you delve into those tenders, and I say this with authority because I have taken my time over the last few weeks to see how many of those who have been selling meters to KPLC are actually producing, Honorable Speaker, is rebranding. And I want to challenge the Public Investments Committee, because they have this information now, to look into the procurement of all those things: meters, transformers, cables at KPLC, at REREC, and Ketraco. Because if there is a den of corruption and theft, Kenyans should continue paying heavily for meters that are being shipped in the country as complete products, sold at almost 3-4 times the market value to enrich a few people, Honorable Speaker. And they form a cartel. And they boast in this town how powerful they are. I want the Public Investments Committee to look into this matter, and we see who between these cartels at Kenya Power and Lighting Company and this house, who has more powers vested on them by the people of Kenya. Because cartels cannot be powerful, Honorable Speaker. Cartels are only powerful because they can bribe and manipulate procurement processes in government. And that is why I was very emphatic, Honorable Speaker, from the time His Excellency the President spoke about e-procurement in government last year in his State of the Nation address, to challenge the Ministry of Finance, the National Treasury, to ensure that all public procurement in this country moves to e-procurement, so that we stop the manipulation of tenders. We stop the manipulation of procurement processes in this country and make it to be what was envisaged by our Constitution, Article 226 of our Constitution, that all public procurement shall be done in a fair, transparent, and accountable manner. Honorable Kosing, if you look at the procurement processes at KPLC, you will see there is nothing transparent. There is no accountability at all. And Honorable Speaker, I say that because I have been very interested in that procurement process since I learned what is going on there. I know, Honorable Speaker, that PIC largely deals with post-audit issues, but nothing stops the Public Investments Committee from dealing with current affairs ongoing in state corporations if it is in the interest of protecting public interest. And I want to ask the Honorable Kosing and his committee to ensure that all these players in the energy sector and those engaged in commercial activities. 2 years ago, we had the edible oil scandal. Because we are using public assets or public parastatals as avenues to enrich a few people. It is only this House that can stamp its authority through our oversight committees to ensure that these parastatals, Honorable Kosing, that you're oversighting, whether it is from audit reports, whether it's from current affairs of ongoing in these state corporations, to ensure that you derive value for the Kenyan people. And deriving value, Honorable Speaker, is not just value to shareholders, even for those that we are privatizing. It is deriving value even for the consumer. All these parastatals in the energy sector, Honorable Speaker, many of them, KPLC is largely a monopoly in this country. Ketraco is also a monopoly. REREC is taking power to our rural areas without competing with anybody else. And therefore, there is absolutely no reason why the state corporations should not be run in a very efficient manner in a way that they protect public assets and ensure that energy gets to the Kenyan people in a cost-effective manner, efficiently without frequent blackouts, and also that we pay the right value for public goods. And that's why I said I supported e-procurement, because it will ensure that there is accountability, there is transparency in how we do public procurement, Honorable Speaker, unlike what has been going on in the past. This House has been dealing with the issue of the moratorium on power purchase agreements, Honorable Speaker. Even as we seek to reopen that space, we must ensure that any new agreements that we get into are agreements that will offer value to the people of Kenya. Any item that we will procure, whether it's at Ketraco, whether it is a transformer, whether it is at REREC, whether it is cables, whether it is meters at KPLC, that we are obtaining this equipment at the most cost-effective and market value or market prices for commodities, so that we do not procure things and end up paying 2-3 times as people roam around in town telling us how powerful they are. Honorable Kosing, you have your duty card for you. Show us that indeed your committee has teeth to bite. Let those who are stealing from Kenya at KPLC have their day in court. Let those who are stealing from us in those other commercial enterprises in government have their day in court. Because that is the only way, Honorable Speaker, we will ensure that we also don't become another talk shop against corruption, but indeed we use our oversight committees to ensure that we deal decisively with the cancer of corruption and ensure that the people who have elected us to represent them, we have put public interest ahead of everything else and ensure that we hold to account those who abuse our resources, whether they're in ministries or they're in parastatals, as the Honorable Kosing has done, in going through all these voluminous reports, Auditor General's reports. And you know, Honorable Speaker, because I'm an accountant, I know auditors don't point out issues for the sake. Even where they are wrong, if you dig deeper, you will find something. They say in English, where there is smoke, there is fire. Where the Auditor General points at you, there is something. And I want to invite the Auditor General and the State Corporations Inspectorate to also look into the procurement processes, especially in the energy sector, to ensure that we deliver value for the Kenyan people, Honorable Speaker. Because we have said, Honorable Speaker, that manufacturing in this country as a percentage of our GDP has been going down. And largely, we blame it on the cost of power. When shall we deal with the cost of power if we do not deal with KPLC, if we do not deal with Ketraco, if we don't deal with REREC, if we don't deal with KenGen, if we don't deal with KPC, when will that cost of power ever come down? For how long are we going to point fingers backwards to the PPAs that were signed 25, 30 years ago, some fortunately which are about to come to an end, thank God. But when they come to an end, are we going to see another PPA being signed, a power purchase agreement being signed, with the same terms as those that we have been complaining about, Honorable Speaker? We pride ourselves as a country that almost 80% of our energy is green energy. Green energy is cheaper energy. But is that cheaper energy getting to the consumer? Is that cheaper geothermal energy, wind energy, solar energy? Since we're around the equator, we have very good weather that can give us solar energy almost throughout the year. Is it being reflected on our electricity bills? Is it helping to spur manufacturing in our country, Honorable Speaker? Those are questions we should be asking ourselves as legislators, as people who are charged with the responsibility of oversighting these public assets, Honorable Speaker. And that is why I am really begging, even as we adopt this report and deal with the issues that have been raised by the committee, and I support many of the recommendations that the committee has proposed, that we go beyond the call of duty. We go beyond the Auditor General's reports, because we have our committees, departmental committees, a committee on energy that oversights many of these parastatals, to make sure that we stem theft ahead of time. It is not enough to point out where money has been lost. It is better to capture the thieves before they take off with the money. And there are very many in this country, Honorable Speaker. Especially in those parastatals, Honorable Kosing. You must deal with them. And deal with them without fear or favor. I know some pride themselves in boasting around town how well connected they are. Let us see how well they're connected they are. In court. Not in bars and in town. Let them go and show their connections in court when they are charged. And we will support you, and you can count on my support as the leader of Majority, Honorable Kosing, and your committee to ensure that all these recommendations that you have put in your report are actualized. And therefore support and beg members to support this report, not for the sake of the Public Investments Committee, but for the sake of our good country. We must protect public assets, Honorable Speaker, without apologies to anybody. And that is why I have said, I have no apologies in saying what I am saying. Because what I am saying is right for the country. We must not allow people, because of their political affiliations, to abuse procurement processes in this country. We cannot allow people to be stealing and forming cartels. Then you go boasting around in town how well connected you are. You wait, we will see how well connected you are the day you land in court. And Honorable Kosing is on your case. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, because my time is over. I beg to support.
Very well. Unless there is any other member, I don't see more interest on this bill. I will ask the mover to reply.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to reply. And in so doing, Honorable Speaker, and I also thank God that you are the one who presided over yesterday, and you are the one presiding over today. Reason being, Honorable Speaker, that at least you have the content and the flow. Honorable Speaker, as I reply, let me begin with what Honorable Leader of Majority has raised. And I want to assure him, Honorable Speaker, you know, a matter raised by a Leader of Majority is not just a matter. It's a serious matter, you know. In terms of ranking, he's actually our leader. And once he raises it for the people of Kenya. And I want to assure him, Honorable Speaker, that matter of Kenya, KPLC, we are seized of that matter as a committee, Honorable Speaker. And it is a shame, I want to say, with the little information I have, it's a shame, Honorable Speaker, that people are almost converting the institution into a private property, that people can just do whatever they want to do. And it is true what Honorable Leader Majority is saying, that some of the people are boasting of connection. Yes, so let's see that connection and the power of the people. Because, Honorable Speaker, you know, yesterday, Honorable members were raising, including the Deputy Leader Majority, that we are becoming almost a house of reports. No, nothing, no function. We recommend a report as committee, and then it's taken over by implementation committee, and then it becomes again a report. I think I really got a lot of information yesterday from the deputy leader of majority. And therefore, I think the work is cut for us, Honorable Speaker. And we will bite. This House and this committee has serious teeth, Honorable Speaker. And I want to assure you, and Honorable leader of majority, that matter of KPLC, we will do as soon as possible. We have ordered for a special audit, Honorable Speaker, on that matter, and we have given the Auditor General a very short time. Within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that matter should be on the floor of the House for prosecution or for consideration, Honorable Speaker. So I will not go into the details because the Auditor General is on that matter, and after which, Honorable Speaker, I will bring to the House for the House to make a decision. But it must be known, Honorable Speaker, that it is not going to be business as usual, Honorable Speaker. And the people who are concerned in this parastatal must be prepared. And of course, there are a lot of work we are doing. We are doing, Honorable Speaker, we are now auditing the power sector. And that's why we are saying. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, to follow that issue of meters. It is both in Kenya and KPLC, and it's also both in REREC. And we might ask the Auditor General to look at both institutions. So that if there are people who have converted public entities like property of individuals, then they will face the music or they will face the law. And I will tell the people of Kenya who are listening to us today, it's not going to be business as usual. And once I say, of course, you know from where we come from, we don't just talk, we act. Of course, you know, Madam Speaker, the tradition of the people that I come from. When we tell you we'll be there at 10 o'clock, it's going to be 10 o'clock exactly tomorrow morning. You know what I mean by that, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, it's not going to be business as usual. So they should now learn. And as I said yesterday, Honorable Speaker, in accordance with Article 221, that we are doing these things not for our interest, but the interest of the people of Kenya. And I think Parliament has been almost treated as a talking house. It's going to be auction house, Honorable Speaker. I want to assure the leader of majority. Secondly, what goes together with that, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of mini-grid that were done by some of these agencies, Honorable Speaker. That it came before the committee in the report, and we realized that people of Garissa, people of Mandera, Isiolo, Turkana, were treated with something that was going to generate power. Mini-grid, Honorable Speaker, for people who are beginners, is generational power. It's almost like a twin generational power. During the day, they use solar, upon which this solar should charge batteries, so that in between, when there's no enough light, the batteries can be able to power the electricity which is generated. And then at night, Honorable Speaker, it kicks on a generator, and this generator now should generate power so that our people, because they don't get the other supply of electricity. In these regions, Honorable Speaker, which are actually the most needy regions, which I've just mentioned, Garissa, Mandera, Isiolo, and Northeastern, Honorable Speaker, entirely, Turkana. These people are suffering as I speak today. And why? Yet the government has done the service, but it looks like it's a white elephant, Honorable Speaker. What we have done, Honorable Speaker, is we have refused to become, as a committee, we have refused to become a committee of talks. And therefore, both ministers are appearing before my committee on 5th. And this should be a notice also to both ministers. As Minister for Power or Electricity, Honorable Wandai, who was in my committee, has been invited to appear before the committee, and National Treasurer, Honorable Speaker, Honorable my good friend Badi. Because, Honorable Speaker, we have refused to become House of Reports. We have also refused to become House of Talks. And that for the benefit of the House, and as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, issues were raised yesterday, and I thank my colleagues. Issues were raised yesterday, which I want to clarify. One of the issues raised by honorable members is whether we are selecting agencies. No, we are not selecting agencies, Speaker. We are doing all agencies. We are auditing all agencies. However, our criteria of audit is different. What we do, we select them in accordance with sectors. As I speak today, Honorable Speaker, we are doing the power sector. After which we did transport. Now we are doing power or energy. Then from energy, we'll move to water. Then from water, we go to regional agencies, regional development agencies. Then from regional development agencies, we now go to financing. That is the reason, Honorable Speaker, of using the word selected state corporations. It's not that we don't do the rest. We will do all of them, Honorable Speaker. But particular times we do, as I've just said, Honorable Speaker. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank colleagues. I thank honorable members for getting a lot of interest in this debate of of the committee. I thank Honorable Speaker, my colleagues, and particularly Leader of Majority for finding time to contribute my report, and also Deputy Leader of Majority. You know, when senior leaders contribute your motion, Speaker, that is where you find joy, which means you have actually also gotten their eye because of this implementation. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and request putting of the question to be deferred pursuant to Standing Order 53.3. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much.
The greatest matter of this country.
Honorable Kosing, we shall defer the putting of the question to the next appointed time. Next order.
Order number 13, the Meteorology Bill, Senate Bill number 45 of 2023, second reading.
Leader of Majority, Honorable Chieni Wakieni. You are distracting the Leader of Majority, and he's supposed to move the Meteorology Bill.
Honorable Speaker, I'd actually asked my deputy to help me move it. So I'll allow him to move.
Thank you very much, and thank you, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, Leader. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Meteorological Bill, Senate Bill number 45 of 2023, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, as members recall, the Meteorological Bill was read for the first time on 3rd December 2024 and was thereafter committed to the Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining for consideration and reporting to the House pursuant to the provisions of the National Assembly Standing Order 127. I would like to commend the committee for a job well done, and to note that the chairman and the chairperson, the Honorable Kawaya, who leads that committee, did a commendable job, and I want to thank you for that job. The people of your constituency have a great leader in you. Honorable Speaker, the bill sponsored by the Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, who is also the leader of the majority in the Senate, seeks to provide a legal framework for the establishment of the Kenya Meteorological Service Authority, regulation, coordination, monitoring, management, provision, and control of meteorological services, and for connected purposes. Honorable Speaker, you know, for many years we have relied on Kenya Met to provide weather forecasts for us and do many things. But Honorable Speaker, you note that this organization has not been anchored in proper law. I think they operate on a legal notice. And as you're aware, legal notices in this country actually operate for 10 years. After 10 years, they lapse. So, Honorable Speaker, to give the Meteorological Department a proper grounding and a proper framework to operate, their mandate so that they are properly covered, properly endowed with resources, and also proper governance structures are put in place to ensure that we anchor meteorological department in this country into law. Honorable Speaker, it's worth noting that the bill is enacted into law will apply to weather observers, meteorological service providers, private weather service providers, the Meteorological Training and Research Directorate, any meteorological training and research institutions, and any person, group of persons or organization whose undertakings involve or include generally the use of meteorological information for commercial purposes. For example, Honorable Speaker, the airports in this country use a lot of meteorological information, Honorable Speaker. If you go to all the airports in this country, they have weather forecasts, they do a lot of meteorological work, Honorable Speaker. But this work, Honorable Speaker, needs to be consolidated so that there is an authority that can manage, observe, and also ensure that rules are followed in weather forecast. Honorable Speaker, you have sometimes people forecast weather and say it will rain in Nairobi at 7 a.m. to midday. And then, Honorable Speaker, there is no rain. The rain actually starts at midday going forward, Honorable Speaker. Then you ask, really, who regulates weather forecasting in this country? Because everybody can do it. Because there's no law that controls all these other organizations that do weather forecasting, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, it is important that we put them under one umbrella, and that's why we have this bill, Honorable Speaker. First, the bill provides for the establishment of the Kenya Meteorological Services Authority. It's very important to have the Kenya Meteorological Services Authority. We only have Kenya Meteorological Department. But now it's going to be an authority. a body corporate that is managed by board of directors, i.e. the Kenya Meteorological Services Authority Board. So we are establishing that, Honorable Speaker. The authority shall be responsible for the provision of meteorological services in Kenya and be the principal technical advisor to the national and county governments on matters related to meteorology. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, the authority shall be responsible for the issuance of permits. That's very important, Honorable Speaker. Issuance of permits to persons who intend to undertake meteorological observations, weather forecasting activities, or weather modification activities. Honorable Speaker, further, the functions of the authority shall include to develop, review, and monitor the implementation of government policies in respect of meteorology and related services, provide aeronautical meteorological services for the safety, regularity, and efficiency of international air navigation in line with Annex 3 of the Chicago Convention on International Civil Aviation, provide timely meteorological information for search and rescue services and accident investigation, and collaborate with the relevant government agencies in the development, implementation, and operation of the national multi-hazard early warning systems. My Speaker, the bill also provides for the establishment of the Meteorological Training and Research Directorate. This is one of the new bodies that is being formed, Honorable Speaker. Meteorological Training and Research Directorate, which shall be responsible for training and research and shall be the World Meteorological Organization's Regional Training Center for the provision of certificate and diploma professional courses in meteorology, operational hydrology, and related services. Honorable Speaker, you realize that in Kenya, as long as you have studied geography at campus at university, you qualify to be a meteorology officer, Honorable Speaker. But now we are saying, just like you train to be a lawyer at the university, then you become an advocate through Kenya School of Law. We are also saying, this time, Honorable Speaker, even when you have a degree in geography or related studies, you must now go to the Meteorology Training and Research Directorate for training so that you are properly anchored as a meteorologist, Honorable Speaker. This is very important, so that these people that focus weather for us are people that can be accounted for in terms of proper training and proper induction into the area. Honorable Speaker, the funds for the authority. The funds for the authority shall include monies as may be appropriated by Parliament for purposes of the authority. That is what we do in the budget here, Honorable Speaker. Monies as may accrue or vest in the authority in the course of exercise of its powers or the performance of its functions, and money collected under the Air Passenger Service Charge Act. You know, we have an Air Passenger Service Charge Act, Honorable Speaker, in this country. And those passengers right now, as you pay for your air ticket, you need now this money that is available, which is actually being collected, Honorable Speaker. The Meteorology Department must also get a piece of the cake, Honorable Speaker, so that they can fund activities. Right now, it doesn't get the money. But now we are saying from the Air Passenger Service Charge Act, the Meteorology Department or authority now will have a pie, a piece of the pie. Honorable Speaker, the bill provides for offenses and penalties and transitional provisions with respect to staff, assets, and Institute of Meteorology Training and Research from the Kenya Meteorological Department to the Kenya Meteorological Services Authority and the Meteorology Training and Research Director. Honorable Speaker, what we are saying in this law, very simple. We already have staff that work in the Meteorological Department, Honorable Speaker, which is a department within the Ministry of Transport, Honorable Speaker. But now we are saying when the authority is being done, then we need to have transitional provisions so that the staff can now move to be staff of the authority, Honorable Speaker, and that is provided in this new law. Honorable Speaker, as I wind up, you realize, Honorable Speaker, there are certain organizations in this country that we have to anchor them in law. They have been there. They've operated on legal notices, but now it is time we anchor them in law. I think 2 days ago we did that for one. Now we are moving on to this and many others, Honorable Speaker, that are important government departments that we must anchor into law, and this is one of them. So this law, Honorable Speaker, needs to be fast-tracked. It's not a complicated law. It is doing the right thing to ensure that we anchor the Kenya Meteorological Department into law. In closing, Honorable Speaker, this bill will provide the much-needed legal framework to enhance access and utilization of meteorological services through engagement and partnership with stakeholders in order to facilitate the integration of weather and climate information in the decision-making process, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, our nation stands to benefit from the compliance with international commitments and requirements if the bill is enacted into law. Honorable Speaker, this is a must piece of legislation. We have no choice. We have to put it so that we anchor this organization into law. Honorable Speaker, with all those many words, I beg to move and request the Honorable Kawaya, engineer, a very able member, third termer, to actually second. Thank you very much.
Honorable Musyoka.
Thank you. That's a three-term. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, the Deputy Majority Whip, for ably Majority Leader for ably moving this particular bill, which is overdue. And Honorable Speaker, the only couple of things I want to touch on. First, this bill creates two very important institutions. One that has already been mentioned by the Deputy Majority Leader, the Kenya Meteorological Service Authority, a body corporate with board of directors, and also an institution called the Meteorology Training and Research Directorate. Honorable Speaker, this particular training institution is going to do training and research, and it's also going to be the World Research or World Meteorological Organization Regional Center, and will be providing both certificate and diploma professional courses in meteorology, operational hydrology, and related sciences. Honorable Speaker, of importance is to also understand that currently we have the meteorological department, which is basically what we want to upgrade it from just a department under the ministry and give it full functions to work as an authority. And since it is working as an authority, it is also important to understand its source of resources or monies to finance its operations. And one of the sources of resources is basically money that Parliament will be required to appropriate to support this institution. Secondly, the institution will also be making some monies through levies, and we want to encourage, because we want, you've seen most of the institutions are now going A, generating their own income to finance their operations. Currently, I would say meteorology has been done in as a kangaroo style. We need to invest in modern equipment. And for us to invest in modern equipment, we also need to resource this particular authority. So further to that, there's the Air Passenger Service Act, which currently is allowing the civil aviation to charge some money for air flights landing in the country. And that is going to be one of the sources of resources for this authority. In any case, going to make money for the air flights. Honorable Speaker, again of importance is to note that this particular meteorological authority, the Kenya Meteorological Services Authority, will be responsible for licensing every person, be it an individual, be it groups, as long as they are involved on matters, observation or meteorology for commercial purposes. It is important to underline the word commercial purposes. Honorable Speaker, as a committee, we have also engaged widely. We have met many stakeholders because the provisions of the Constitution requires Standing Order 127, that we do thorough public participation. And we engaged many stakeholders so that we are as thorough as possible. We engaged the State Department for Environment and Climate Change, the Department for Shipping and Maritime Affairs, the Civil Aviation Authority, and the Passeries Alliance for Resilience and Adaptations Across Nations. They are called PARAN. Honorable Speaker, it is also interesting to note that as it is right now, weather forecasting is actually not just left to the sciences of the books, but also to the indigenous knowledge. And as you will observe, you look at the bill keenly and our report, we've actually identified the indigenous knowledge as one of the critical knowledges that we'll be looking at while identifying the members of the Kenya Meteorological Services Authority Board, because in most of the times we look at the education background. You are told for you to be a board member, you need to have be an engineer, you need to be a lawyer, but we are also looking at indigenous knowledge. In any case, it has been used a lot currently in the weather observation. People from Turkana, they will tell you, actually they are experts, indigenous experts who never gone to school, but they slaughter a cow, they look at the intestines, and they tell you when it is going to rain. This is both the ministries and also the other stakeholders who appeared before us. They were categorical that in this bill we cannot leave out the services of these indigenous people. And in the past, these people have actually been used without any specific stipends. We hope, because now we'll be using their services, and this authority is also going now to be making money, that they do not use the services of these indigenous people for free. Honorable Speaker, and therefore just to make a few comments, a few observations as a committee. After engaging different stakeholders, we made several observations, and one of the observations we made was that the Kenya Meteorological Authority will enhance the provision of timely, accurate, and effective weather forecasts, advisories, and alerts, as well as provision of user-tailored specific climate weather products. 2, that the legal framework will enhance access to utilization of meteorological services through engagement and partnerships with all stakeholders in order to facilitate the integration of weather and climate information in the decision-making process. 3, that the nation stands to benefit from compliance with international commitments and requirements if this bill is enacted into law. 4, that Kenya Maritime Authority gaining access to real-time and reliable information on atmospheric and oceanic conditions, mariners will effectively anticipate and respond to potential hazards at sea. 5, that the traditional indigenous knowledge that I have mentioned in weather forecasting is not only significantly valuable, but also culturally significant and should be integrated into modern meteorological systems to improve accuracy and relevance of weather forecasts. The Kenya Meteorological Service Authority ought to collaborate with relevant government agencies, including National Drought Management Authority that operates an early warning system and conducts food security assessments through multi-hazard approach so as to leverage on the existing systems through a collaborative network. In a nutshell, Honorable Speaker, weather forecasting is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Many occasions, and many of us have had to have their flights delayed, and you are told it's because the weather is not good for you to fly your chopper, to fly the planes. Even for the mariners at sea, you are told that you can't do this because the waves are too harsh. It tells you that we are living with this particular weather forecast on a daily basis. And this information is usually, when you are told you have to wait, it is not, it is basically as it happens. It is real time. And therefore, these people are monitoring this weather real time. if this weather monitoring, which is real time, is not done accurately, then it tells you that it can potentially cause a lot of problems. Because if, for instance, you fly, and then this person giving you that the weather, the skies have cleared, is basically relying on old equipment or equipment that is not accurate, and then you end up flying at a time when the weather is not good, then that means basically that it can easily cause accidents. And therefore, this just underlines one of the issues. And if you look at this particular law, it also tries to domesticate the existing laws, because for us also to fly our planes, there are certain world standards that are domesticated and Annex 3 of the Chicago Convention. And then in our consideration of the bill, we have ensured that then basically these provisions that have already been domesticated under other acts that we passed through this House, then they do not conflict. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, the Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining, having considered the bill and facilitated the public participation in the bill, recommends that the House approves the bill, of course, with a number of amendments that we looked at as a committee. And with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second.
Very well. Honorable members, I therefore propose a question that the Meteorology Bill, Senate Bill number 45 of 2023, be read a second time. Honorable members, before I indulge you, join me in welcoming in the public gallery, I don't know whether they're still there, Camaroso School from Eldama Ravine, Baringo County, and St. John's Academy from Keio South, Elgeyo Marakwet County. I take this opportunity to welcome them on behalf of the House to observe the proceedings of this House. Honorable Sunkuli.
Madam Speaker, I also support this bill and say that it will be very important to have an authority that will be looking into the weather of this country and the climate. But Madam Speaker, I want to begin by saying, so that we can correct a number of things, meteorology is a science. It is a science that studies the relationship between the atmosphere and the geosphere, the relationship between the atmosphere and the hydrosphere, the relationship between the atmosphere and the biosphere. And I'm saying this because I wanted the committee to look at these things purely as a science and to understand that the study of the atmosphere is a little bit different from the study of intestines. So that I had it said that there is something called traditional ways of predicting the weather. I'm saying myself that might be possible, but that is not meteorology. That might be the study of intestines, of cows and how they relate to the atmosphere. So, Madam Speaker, I want to urge that because meteorology is a science and we are creating an organization that is going to be predicting the weather for a number of socio-economic users, this, I agree with Honorable Kawaya, must have two aspects. One, it must be well-resourced, and secondly, it must be well-financed, well-equipped in terms of equipment. I've had the advantage, as you know, Madam Speaker, of being ambassador in China, a country where weather prediction is taken very seriously. And by the way, you cannot, in China, if you have a big organization, if you have a big, like Madaraka Day, and it is predicted that it's going to rain tomorrow, it is predicted in such a way that scientifically it rains today. And you know that exists, it's called seeding. In this country, well, to give credit to our Department of Meteorology, I think that more and more there has been some sort of accuracy in predicting weather, more and more. But we need, as a country, to invest in this. First, because we are an agricultural country that needs to know what to tell our farmers. Right now, the prediction of whether it's going to rain tomorrow or not, is from a large territory. Like if I want to know if it's going to rain in Kilgoris, I cannot get that from the meteorological department. They'll tell me that the weather conditions prevailing in Kisumu are probably going to prevail in Kilgoris, or the Harper Islands of such and such a place. But if we resource this, if we equip this authority properly, it is going to be more precise. It's going to tell you in Kilgoris it's going to be raining. And I get this from the international satellites, Madam Speaker, because if you have a Samsung phone and you move between here and Kiambu, they'll tell you this area is about to rain. Our own equipments should be able to predict the weather. And we must face this. We should put up satellites, because the study of the atmosphere involves the erection of satellites up there that are meant for the weather. And I look forward to the day when our meteorologists will be able to be very, very precise. But secondly, Madam Speaker, I hear that the staff will going to be transited, and I think that is good for human resource. But let us emphasize that the staff is going to be trained. Because if we are going to transit the same staff, and I'm not saying that we should not, then we must be able to tell them to be ready for the task, because now we are creating an organization that promises better results. And you cannot get water from a stone. These people must be trained in meteorology. And in my opinion, one of these organizations that is created for training cannot in itself fulfill the training requirements of meteorology. It can only source better knowledge from elsewhere because we do not have it. And I want us to do this. I know we like our traditions, but please, if we are embracing science, let's embrace science. I come from a clan in Maasai land which can actually predict the weather. But most of the times I go wrong. And there is no way I can understand why I am wrong. There is no machine I've used to say that it has gone wrong. I think let us emphasize, let's get rid of this idea that we are going to kill animals to know the weather. Let's just buy machines so that we can be able to tell the whole world what is going to happen. Thirdly, this weather prediction cannot be a one-country affair. We have to have an interaction of different technologies so that we become very, very precise. And I know that, Madam Speaker, if we want to understand the vagaries of weather, we have got to learn from the best. And out there in the world, there are many countries that have perfected over the years in learning the weather. If you want to know today whether to fly over the Pacific, you will be told precisely whether you can make it or not. And the reason why aeroplanes sometimes fly even when there is bad weather is because the radar tells them that whether you can be able to make it. We can be able to do it, but let's not pretend we can do it alone. We have to come together with other countries that do it better so that we can learn. And let's understand that once we are able to know that the weather is going to be friendly for farmers, we are going to have better output. Not just for flying, for farming. I have to be told, no, we are doing guesswork. We are planting things at the wrong time. Sometimes it rains and you plant and then the rain stops, but nobody told you it was going to stop. It is very important that we do it, and I pledge again, we do it by resourcing this authority. We do it by equipping this authority. For the time being, let's allow the biologists to do the science of the intestines, but let us build our own authority to be able to be more scientific, because meteorology is a science. I beg to support.
Well, the Turkana people have been mentioned as able to predict weather through intestine. So, Honorable Mother, maybe you'll clarify.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I am in the Committee for Environment, Forestry and Mining, and I want to thank my chair for expediting the production of this bill. And to this end, we want to say thank you, because this is one of the bills that we've been able to generate. The first one was an amendment. Yes, this is a Senate bill, Madam Speaker, but when it came to our committee, we took an observation on non-inclusion of indigenous technical knowledge, or what can also be called the traditional indigenous knowledge. Madam Speaker, I want to speak so much on that ITK, indigenous technical knowledge, because one, climate change is already affecting each and every country in the world. And number two, Madam Speaker, the manner in which this information on forecasting, on meteorological equipment, how it is spread in the country is not equitable. It is not adequate. Madam Speaker, this has forced so many communities, especially in the ASALs, to depend so much on traditional indigenous knowledge, or that indigenous technical knowledge, Madam Speaker. And you find, for example, in Turkana, the communities, or most of the people there, rely on the reading of sandals, for example. They also rely on the reading of the intestines. They also observe how maybe frogs will suddenly begin to roar, or even the movement of birds at some time. Also, they will observe also the movement of butterflies and even the direction of the wind. Also, in the constellation in the sky, they will be able to say the 6 stars that are normally grouped together. When they are positioned at a certain time in the night, and they will lie and observe, there is a certain position where they will always say, rains are almost coming. And Madam Speaker, this is not jargon. Sometimes when it's dry, you will see movements of animals towards a given direction. And when you get to inquire, they will tell you the reading of the intestines is telling us to move towards this end because it's going to rain those sides. And actually what happens is when they move to those areas, they get rains in those places. And therefore, Madam Speaker, what is much of importance here is the need for us to consider inclusion of information, of knowledge, whether indigenous or whether scientific. And that was our utmost observation when we received this bill from the Senate, that yes, there is these scientific forecasts that are normally made, either to support aviation, shipping, or any other transport. But, Madam Speaker, we need to see how we can be able to integrate this indigenous technical knowledge into our science, so that, Madam Speaker, if this information is not timely received at the grassroots, especially in the ASAL, where we have the impacts of climate change, or where our pastoralism is affected, Madam Speaker, that information, whether scientific or no, or whatever, will not be useful to those communities. And therefore, Madam Speaker, integration of both scientific and this indigenous technical knowledge is profound. And this country, Madam Speaker, Article 11 on culture, the state is mandated to preserve indigenous knowledge. Also under Article 69, Madam Speaker, on environment and natural resources, there is also that part that requires the state also to see the integration of indigenous knowledge in either the meteorological systems or in everything that is scientific, so that those who are in these communities, in local regions that are far-flung from development, marginalized, are able to be integrated in whatever becomes law, like when we are observing this meteorology bill. Madam Speaker, I want to support the inclusion of ITK, indigenous technical knowledge, into this bill. In that way, Madam Speaker, there will be a lot of ownership of the bill. There will also be a time when science meets tradition or indigenous knowledge, a time when everything will be observed from the perspective of saying, yes, I was able to participate. Madam Speaker, I want to give an example of NDMA, National Drought Management Authority. When NDMA was still called Arid Lands, Arid Lands Resource Management Program, there was collection of data from households at the local level. There was also a time when NDMA, that time Arid Lands Resource Management Program, was able to collect information on this reading of sandals, on the reading of the intestines, on what is the observation of the community on the flowering of plants, or the movement of butterflies, or the roaring of frogs. They will include it in their data. Madam Speaker, Arid Lands, under their monitoring and evaluation unit, was able to give accurate information. And it was as a result of getting to the household level, the pastoralist level, household level, and being able to collect that information and integrate it with science. And Madam Speaker, you will find that the calendar, the Turkana calendar, because the Turkanas also do have their calendar, and they will tell you month within the year when it will rain. And those names will be attached to either a rainy season or to a dry season. Madam Speaker, that has changed. But when NDMA came in with their monitoring unit and collected data and were able to integrate, then they will say, this is what the traditional indigenous knowledge persons are holding, but this is what science is trying to forecast. And when that information gets to the household level, they will be able to actually say, yes, it is true, and they can be able to own it, Madam Speaker. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I don't dispute the use of science. Science can be used in aviation or shipping. Science can be used in these other things, but pastoralism will need an integration of both science and ITK, Madam Speaker. And for that, I support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mover to reply.
Microphone. Okay, thank you. Honorable Speaker, I want to reply. And in replying, I want to say this, that this is a very important bill that we must enact as a parliament to give, legal standing to our meteorology services in this country, Honorable Speaker. And I want to quote my chief, where I come from, I think was watching this debate, and he has contributed, Chief Dixon Kitole, and I say this, yes, Mwesh, that act, as you have supported, will help a lot on disaster preparedness, farming, and cut off fake weather forecasts and licensed farms. And I think that is it. I think he sums it up, this chief from my village, and I want to thank him for his contribution. But again, Honorable Speaker, I want to give credit and thank you to the chairman, Honorable Kawaya, for the good job. I think many times we've given Honorable Kawaya responsibility in this House as chairman in committees. He has done a tremendous job. And I think this is one of those bills that will go into the history of this country that he midwifed and pushed and succeeded. And when we actually have that authority established, we will thank you, Honorable Kawaya, for that good job. Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank the members of that committee for the job and the time they put in, and also for members for contributing. And I request and urge this House that this is a bill that we must pass so that we move forward in weather forecast. I like the debate on whether looking at the intestines is also part of weather forecasting. You know, weather forecasting can be physical and can also be spiritual. So those that look at intestines have a spiritual understanding of it, and they are gifted in a certain way to do it. So you cannot, and spiritualism, Ambassador, is actually part of science. You know, science is not just about, it's about empiricism. Science is about empiricism. And those that Honorable Kawaya has talked about, there's empirical evidence that they have at one time predicted rain, and rain has come on the basis of the intestine. And science is not just confined to labs. Science is broad, Ambassador, and therefore you should not just confine science to the one that Europeans call science. Even the one that Honorable Kawaya from his village is also science, and that science must be respected. That's why we have some laws on traditional medicine and healers and all that puts them together and is recognized and respected, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, as I wind up, I want to say welcome even those guys, so that the Kenya Meteorological Authority, as we will set it up, can also regulate even those and get information from seers and people who understand weather. In my place, the Chonyi tribe is known as that, is respected for the tribe that actually predicts weather properly. You know, if they tell you it will rain tomorrow, it will rain. You know, because they have a certain spiritual science within them that helps them to predict weather. So we want to thank you for that contribution, but thank every member who has contributed. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and request putting of the question to be deferred pursuant to Standing Order 53.3. I thank you and I reply. Thank you.
It shall be so. The question will be put in the next appointed time. Next order.
Order number 14, motion. Consideration of 6th report on the financial statements for the NGCDF accounts for 3 constituencies.
Honorable Gideon Muliungi, the Chairperson, Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopt the 6th report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for Webuye East, Dagoretti North, and the Matunga constituencies for the financial years 2016, 2017, 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021, and 2021-2022, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 10th of April, 2025. Madam Speaker, the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee is established pursuant to Standing Order number 205B and is responsible for the examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the accounts of, among others, the National Government Constituencies Development Fund and the National Government Affirmative Action Fund and their boards. In its examination and scrutiny of the audited financial statements of the constituencies, the committee primary approach was to receive submissions from the accounting officers of the NGCDF and the fund account managers as regards to errors of omission or commission that gave rise to the audit queries cited by the Auditor General. Honorable Speaker, this was done guided by the relevant public financial management principles in the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the Public Audit Act, the Public Finance Management Act, and the attendant regulations, and the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, and the attendant regulations, and the International Public Accounting Standards, IPSAS. Madam Speaker, the committee examined a total of 18 reports of the Auditor General for Webuye East, Dagoretti North, and Matunga constituencies for 6 financial years examined between 2016 and 2022. The observations, findings, and recommendations are contained in the committee report now before the House. Honorable Speaker, the fund has had a significant impact on the lives of people through various infrastructure and social development projects, including the construction and renovation of schools, purchase of land for public institutions, and support for security and health initiatives, as well as supporting students through issuance of bursaries. A highlight of some of the projects undertaken in the constituencies examined include, but not limited to, the following. In Wembuye constituency, the fund supported a total of 38 projects in education of building classrooms, security and issuance of bursaries during the financial years under review. The constituency issued bursary amounting to 67,291,333 to both secondary and tertiary institutions. Further analysis indicates that all the projects were complete and in use as at the time of audit. In Dagoretti North constituency, the fund supported the construction of a water tower for the existing borehole at St. George's Secondary School, among other projects. Issuance of bursaries during the financial years under review. The constituency issued bursaries amounting to 24 million to both secondary and tertiary institutions. In Matunga constituency, Madam Speaker, the fund supported the construction of an administration block in Matunga Girls Secondary School and construction of Simba Chief's office, among other projects. On all the constituencies examined, the fund also issued bursaries during the financial years under review. For instance, in Matunga constituencies, as I've said, bursaries amounting to 26 million were issued to both secondary and tertiary institutions. In Dagoretti, bursaries amounting to 24 million, and in Wembuye, bursaries amounting to 67 million. Madam Speaker, although the House has ruled on the matter of bursary disbursements before in our previous reports, there was an alarming report from the Auditor General on the contrary in the print, electronic, social, and digital media, accusing 30 MPs of misappropriating CDF bursaries, citing lack of receipts and acknowledgement letters from beneficiary institutions. Honorable Speaker, I want to clarify and put on record the following: that MPs have no role in the management of NGCDF funds. Number B, fund account managers are the AIE orders and accounting officers answerable to Parliament and not MPs. My committee examines fund managers and not MPs. The report, therefore, is misleading, petty, frivolous, and unfounded, and has no basis in law. Further, and as I've said, Honorable Speaker, the committee has pronounced itself before on this matter in previous reports tabled before this House and approved by the House. In particular, the committee in its previous report, and in particular for the disbursement of funds, it is not practical for beneficiaries of bursaries to bring back receipts to CDF office after collecting their checks. To cure this problem, the committee recommended that Auditor General verifies disbursement of bursary checks from bank account statements of CDF and the recipient institutions if they so wish. The committee has taken exception to the Auditor General's report and reprimands her for dishonoring and rubbishing National Assembly recommendations and puts her on notice for insubordinating and taking Parliament for granted on frivolous and petty issues. The committee recommended to summon her in due course to shed more light on her allegations and insubordinating Parliament. Madam Speaker, the committee, upon examination of Auditor General's report for the 3 constituencies, made the following observations and recommendations. On presentation of accuracy of financial statements, the committee observed that fund account managers faced challenges in adopting and complying with IPSAS reporting framework, leading to audit queries. And therefore, the committee recommends that the accounting officer should comply with IPSAS framework in preparing financial statements. The accounting officer, in consultation with Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, IPSAS, as in previous reports of this committee, been directed to conduct continuous capacity building to fund account managers on financial reporting standards and the constituency staff. Number 2, on failure to submit required documents during audit, the committee observed that fund account managers did not avail complete reconciled financial statements on time for review and verification by the auditors during the audit exercise. This is contrary to the law. And therefore, the committee recommends that the accounting officers should ensure fund account managers comply with the Public Audit Act regarding timely provision of information. Additionally, original project management committee files should be maintained at CDF office. Further, qualified accountants should be employed by the constituency offices for the financial year, from financial year 2025 to 2026, to strengthen record keeping and financial statement preparation. On delay of exchequer releases, which was very common, the committee observed that delays in exchequer releases led to under-expenditure and the delays in implementation and completion of projects. The committee recommended that the National Treasury should ensure timely and adequate disbursement of funds to the NGCDF board for immediate release to constituencies to implement approved projects. Honorable Speaker, the report underscores the importance